Hey, yo, everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video. Today we're going to be doing a video that I think is a very important video that we do. I mentioned this in my Batman new costume video. I was originally going to do a video talking about all the different Robins and what they bring to the table and which Robin was really the best one. But in doing my thoughts about each individual Robin, I came to a couple conclusions, but most importantly, that there's been one Robin that's really been getting shafted the past 14 years. That Robin is none other than our boy, Tim Drake, better known as Red Robin, or as now he was Drake. I don't know. He's having a bit of an identity crisis, which is why we need to talk about him. I had to think, in really the past few years, what has happened to Robin? What has happened to Tim Drake? Why is he not as relevant or as important to a character of the DC Universe? Why is he being thrown through the gutter, for lack of a better term? And it took me some time to think what happened to him. And I think I came to a conclusion of where the downfall happened. But I don't think the downfall means the end of the character. A lot of people have kind of written Tim Drake off as a character that's not really important or necessary to the Batman mythos anymore. Not me. I think Tim Drake has a very important role to play in the Batman mythos. But something did go wrong when DC Comics changed the character in 2006, 2007. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to talk about the things I like about Tim Drake, how he's near and dear to my heart. Then I'll talk about the things that went wrong with him in recent years, and ultimately how we're going to fix it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Okay, before we jump into Tim Drake, I just want to give a Patreon update. For everyone that is over on Patreon in the Green Lantern tier or higher, I added the next video in my DC film video series, and that will be of Justice League New Frontier. So if you want to go see that, hop over to Patreon, join the Green Lantern tier, not the Dream Lantern, Green Lantern tier, and have at that. It's a fun review that I had. So without any further ado, let's talk about our boy Tim Drake. Tim Drake is a very near and dear character to me because, he's the Robin of the 90s in the early 2000s, which is when I really started to get into comics as a reading format. Obviously, I was exposed to Dick Grayson as Robin much earlier than Tim because of Batman the Animated Series and Batman Forever. When I was younger, I didn't read the comics as much. I was a teenager when I started reading the comics heavily, so I wasn't as exposed to Tim Drake as some people were, because I read a little bit later. But once I got into comics and I started reading the modern era onwards, Tim Drake was a facet. He had to be there. He was a staple. He was quintessentially, and I dare say this, the best Robin in terms of balance out of all the Robins. You can debate on how good Dick Grayson was as a Robin in comparison to Tim, because they're different Robins for different eras. Dick was Robin during the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, but that was a different time and place for comics. Tim Drake came in and he really found that balance between the character of Dick Grayson and the character of Jason Todd, in that he followed Batman's orders. He was a true sidekick to Batman. It was kind of a goody two-shoes like Dick, but at the same time, he kind of went on his own. He had a bit of rebelliousness to him. He was very independent, and he kind of got that from Jason. And it was a very good balance. And also, I will say this with utmost certainty, Tim Drake has had the best new Robin costume out of all of them. The Robin costume needed an update from the Pixie Boots, and he did it. He definitely did it. That original 90s, late 80s, early 90s era Robin costume with the red tunic and the green. He actually has pants and boots. It was just such a fantastic growth and adaptation. But the problem is somewhere along the way, Tim Drake kind of lost his way as a character. And this really happened in 2006, 2007, when he started transitioning from being Tim Drake Robin to Tim Drake Red Robin. Now, it's not unheard of for Robins to evolve and grow and to change into new personas. Dick Grayson evolved into Nightwing. Jason Todd became the Red Hood. Stephanie Brown even used Robin as a launching pad to Batgirl. Carrie Kelly in the Dark Knight continuity used it to become Catgirl and then eventually Batwoman. So You know, Robin can be used as a springboard to new personas, like Tim Drake did, jumping over and becoming the Red Robin. However, there was initially a problem with this, and we have to talk about the problem because since him becoming Red Robin, he has been less of the Bat family, has really not had much of his way. It's kind of jumped from team to team, from Titans to Young Justice, and he really hasn't had much of a position in the DC universe. He's kind of been thrown around. He's even temporarily been killed off, although he wasn't killed off. Everyone thought he was dead, but he kind of just disappeared for a bit. During a time when he started becoming relevant again. So what happened to Tim? Well, I think there were 3 problems with Tim Drake. Number 1 was evolution and growth. Number 2 is aesthetic design. And number 3 is place in the Bat family. So let's take evolution and growth first. The big thing with Tim Drake evolving and growing as a character is this. Is that, and I don't blame Grant Morrison and I don't blame even Damian for this happening, but with the introduction of Damian, he took the Robin position, and Tim Drake was being basically forced out of the Robin position and took up the Red Robin position. This was not only in the character development angle, but also in the publishing angle. Tim Drake was not ready to become something other than Robin. Robin is a growing point for a character, but Tim Drake was not grown enough to become Red Robin. When Dick evolved into Nightwing, it was a natural growth and evolution of the character. And granted, it took 40-something years for it to happen, and we don't have 40-something years for Tim Drake to evolve and to grow, but 40-something years for him to change into Nightwing is a pretty big amount of time. And if Tim Drake decided to become something different than Robin now in 2020, 14 years after he initially became Red Robin, let's just say we just had the past 14 years as Robin and he started transitioning, then it would feel natural, right? I think they would have done it correctly. But because he ultimately was an afterthought in the change in the status quo for Batman, I think he ultimately became the biggest victim, because Tim was not ready to evolve into something new. And they kind of just half-assed gave him the title Red Robin. Honestly, I think a cool name would give him the Flamebird title, so it could have matched up with Nightwing and stew into that Kryptonian lore, but that has since gone over to Batwoman's sidekick, her cousin, but that's neither here nor there. So that's problem number 1. Problem number 2 is aesthetic design. Tim Drake as Robin has had some fantastic costumes. You're looking at one of my favorites, which is the and I love this picture. It's the black and red costume, but the original costume was also fantastic. And we're eventually going to get to it, but he actually had a Red Robin costume that was temporary that looked good. I think it was in some cyberspace or something like that. I forget what the storyline was, to be honest. But when he became Red Robin, boy, was the costume not bad. It wasn't bad. But it was such a drastic aesthetic change to Tim Drake, with the full cowl and the big symbol in the center of the chest rather than on the side breast, and just overall the aesthetic design of the original Red Robin costume, which, now that I look back on it, was actually a pretty cool costume. It's just, it was such a drastic change for him evolution-wise. Aesthetically, it was not appealing. And what made things even worse is when we went into the New 52, he had his worst costume yet, and that was the New 52 Red Robin costume. It was just a mess of a costume. If on any other character it might have worked, but on Tim Drake, it was just an example of him getting divorced even more from the Batman family. It was just a fucking messy costume, pardon my language, but it was a messy looking costume. You need to have clean and streamlined costumes for characters to work. So there's the aesthetic problem, right? And then we jump from the aesthetic problem over to his place in the Bat family. Seeing that he no longer has the position as main sidekick, that belongs to Damian now. And again, nothing against Damian, right? We're not talking about Damian, we're talking about Tim. Tim doesn't really have a place in the Bat family. You know, oh god, I can't do this. I'm gonna do anime stereotypes, okay? So bear with me. Dick Grayson is the prodigal, good-looking son who is, you know, really the best at everything he does, right? Jason Todd is that angsty middle child who has his own problems that go on. And then you have Damian Wayne, who is that bratty know-it-all, and you have Stephanie Brown, who is that kind of cutesy independent girl, and then you have Barbara Gordon as Batgirl, kind of being that brainy techie girl who is also kind of that big sister, fiercely independent also. And then you have Tim Drake, who really doesn't fall into any category that isn't already being used by someone else. That's a big tragedy of him. Where does he fall into the Bat family? He can't be the main sidekick because that belongs to Robin, right? He can't really be the prodigal son because that's Dick. He's not edgy enough to be like Red Hood. He's a tech guy, but not as much as what Barbara Gordon is. And by the way, this is the costume they should have done for Red Robin. It was used only for like 2 issues, I think. But this was a bomb costume. Had a little Nightwing in there, but it felt like a natural evolution to Tim Drake's costume. But I jumped off point. Tim didn't really have a position in the Bat family. That's why after the New 52, he was relegated to just being on the Titans for the majority of the time. So how do we fix this? How do we make Tim Drake relevant again? Well, first of all, natural evolution, you can't change that. You can't go backwards and become Robin again. This is something that Dick Grayson has said multiple times, and it's something that I believe in the fact that Tim is Red Robin, or I guess Drake now. He can never go back to being Robin. So we have to find a place for him. If he's going to be called Drake, that's honestly, I think Drake is a better name than Red Robin. My biggest problem with the Drake persona is A, they had to change his name again, right? It just shows how uncertain DC is with this character. And number 2 is the costume is horrendous, right? But if he's going to stay as Drake, that's fine. Have him be Drake. And then have some kind of development. What does it mean for him to be Drake, right? What does it mean for him to be this new persona? Because for Dick Grayson, it was about independence. For Jason Todd, it was about revenge. For Stephanie Brown, it was about growth and development. What does it mean for Tim? And I don't have the answer of what it means for Tim. I mean, I think the best thing for Tim is that he should be... He's a bit young, but I think he actually fits kind of a mentor role pretty well as mentoring younger superheroes. They kind of tried to do that with him being on the Titans, but honestly, I think that could work for him as a character, having him be kind of that mentor to the Bat family, to new members like the Signal, or to Cassandra Cain, or even to Robin. Like, these characters need a bit more guidance that Batman can't even do. Like, the whole point of the Outsiders comic right now is that Batman doesn't have time to deal with all these kids. That's why he brings in Black Lightning and Katana. Well, why can't Tim do this, right? And I think Tim should still be on the Young Justice, right? Because I think he naturally works with those characters so well. But like I said, he needs to have a solid place on the Bat team. Number 2 is aesthetic design. The costume that you're seeing now should have been Tim Drake's costume permanently. I don't see why they changed it. It's a great homage to his original costume, but at the same time, it also kind of showed growth and evolution. They need to get a solid costume down. His current Drake costume is hideous. I'm sorry to anyone who designed it, but gray and yellow is not a good color for Tim Drake or for the Bat family. It just doesn't work. And not having a cape is also bothering the shit out of me. He needs a cape. It's just, he looks good with it. I think Tim looks really good with the cape. So, he needs to aesthetically look good. Go back to this costume, or as you'll see in a few seconds, he had a costume in Young Justice that worked out well too. That was like a retro Robin costume. You could have gone with that, right? The closer you make it to his old school Robin costume while making it work and evolve, then go for it. This costume right here also looked really nice. They got rid of that, and I don't know why they did that. And lastly, he needs a place in the Bat family. This kind of ties into the first thing, but he needs to be present in the Bat family. He can't just be jumping in on crossovers or as cameo things. Like, maybe have him have a permanent place on the Outsiders, or maybe give him his own title again. Like, he needs to have a presence in the Bat family. And when it comes down to it, what does that presence mean? Well, in the Detective Comics run that came out of Rebirth, it meant that he was kind of like the brains of the operation. Why he's not that right now is beyond me, right? That kind of works for him, right? Barbara doesn't need to be the techie girl. Tim could be that techie prodigy who works in the background for Batman and for everyone else. Hell, he can be almost like a new Oracle that actually hits onto the field. Use the element that works best for Tim, and that is his intellect, right? Use his intellect. And I think if you just lay down those groundworks and you made those changes and you actually put a damn effort into Tim Drake, you would get such a return on the character. Because Tim Drake suffers from something I call Wally West syndrome. A lot of people, and this is again not a hit at Wally West. Ready? Time to piss some people off. Wally West is incredibly popular because he was the Flash at the time, right? If Barry was in the place of Wally, he probably would have had the popularity and the love of the fans that enjoy Wally. That's not to say Wally is not a popular character. He is a great character. He has a fantastic family dynamic and unique take on the Speed Force, but Wally is popular because he was in the 90s, and so is Tim Drake. He was a Robin so many people in the 90s. He was a damn good character. But one of the things is because he was such a damn good character, he has such a strong following from people that watched him in the 90s or read him in the 90s, and you need to utilize that. Fans are pleading with DC to get more Red Robin, to get more Drake or more Tim Drake or Rob, whatever you want to call him, right? We want more of it. So DC needs to get its shit together. So, at the end of the day, I want to know what you guys think. What do you think are the underlying problems with Tim Drake? Is it just that simply editorial doesn't like him and he's getting ignored? Or is it because fundamentally the character doesn't have his place in the Batman universe as he did beforehand because of the evolution and growth of him, the Robin persona, and what it means to be part of the Bat family? I think that's a discussion that would be really good to have right now on this channel, and I would really like to know what you guys' thoughts are. As always, you can follow me on Instagram, on Twitter. You can also join me on Patreon. I'm putting some exclusive stuff up on there. And you can follow me on Facebook. With that said, this is Andrew saying peace out for now.